I wasn't a fan of the HyperX mice, but when I tried out the Logitech mouse, I got the one with like 5 buttons on the side.
I feel like the
Oh,
two
man.
mouse that people will most often talk about is either a Logitech mouse or a Razer mouse.
Yes.
Sometimes there's Corsair, sometimes there's others,
Corsair.
but I feel like
Corsair's
those two,
really strong too.
yeah, those two are the usual.
For me, it's got to be ergonomic, and I have to be able to change the weights on the mouse.
Oh, that's not something I would think of doing. Like, weight mouse management is unknown to me. But maybe one day I'll figure it.
For sure, you should try it out. It's really nice, and you can even change the distribution of the weight on where it is on the mouse. So it's like you could be front heavy or back heavy. I used to play quite a bit of Rainbow Six Siege, and I still plan on going back to it. But
Life Matters.
The new mouse was so nice.
Okay. By the way, just to get things started, I actually began recording just to see if anything that we might have missed out. We also incorporate in the front. But and at the same time, I was mentioning just now about the Hangout stuff that you're I think the third person that I brought in already. So before this, I had Thad this, as you've mentioned. It was a very interesting time to talk to him. I think you'll be fascinated to see the episode as well, where we really speak some real hard, deep matters between the two of us. And then I also spoke to another AK content creator, which was Viper before that. So then you become the third person.
Man, I've really wanted to work with Viper, but he's just been crazy busy.
It's
been super difficult, unfortunately. But I was able to, initially contact him through the HH program.
Right. But then did he reply?
He did. It's just that, like, I know most people when I talk to them about, like, oh, hey, so I'm obviously I'm a music channel. I might as well get into quick introductions. So yes,
that's an introduction. How fluid.
I'm Isaak Wolf. I make a lot of fan music for Arknights and sometimes GFL, and I've been doing a little bit of Honkai Third Impact, but primarily my channel's like 90% Arknights content. And whenever I try to collab with other people, the difficulty is most people go, well, what would we do? Because it's like, you just make music. I'm like, well, I just want to offer music to your channel, like whatever you want, or if there's anything in particular you like, I can shift it to make it work more for your channel. Obviously, I always try to offer this out there. I have 130 songs that are copyright free. Anyone is free to use them for whatever content creation. It's not just, even though I do a lot of metal, it's not just metal. I make all genres of music. But the problems with trying to work with other people is, I have a few video ideas very rarely. Most of the time, it's just like, I don't know if our content's that compatible or something. And I'm not quoting Viper or anything by that means, but in general, that's kind of the response I get. It's just like, I don't know what we could do. And I'm like, fair. It's a bit difficult to try to plan some stuff out. Something I was trying to get together is, I'm actually starting to enjoy doing this now, is I'll make quick streams where myself, other content creators, or my friends would try to race to see who can get the character first. And we set up punishments. So every off 6 banner, we were doing shots of
pulling competition.
Yeah, pulling competition, which I don't see pulling competitions.
There is actually. I think it's just they're not very publicized. There are. There's a particular YouTuber who organizes a pulling competition, and I think he does it between like 4 or 5 of the content creators. The trouble is that in terms of size, they're not maybe as sizable as the rest.
Okay.
Continue, please.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to do more of that, because in terms of pull competitions, it would be really cool if just like every time we hit a punishment threshold, it's for me, it's different for everyone else. They can choose what they want to set their punishments to be. They don't have to be as crazy as me. But it's like hot sauces and peppers. And the more I mess up, the worse it gets. On my Shen Alter video, I did Reaper Pepper. I pulled 6 off banners. It took, I think, 280 to get Shen Alter.
6 off banner. Wow. So not even Mizuki on the banner.
I did get Mizuki. Mizuki was the first one at like 200 and something though. I didn't even get on banner until in the 200s, and I found that to be ridiculous. 6
done.
off banners. So I got Thorns, Silver Ash, Mudrock, I think Siege, and I can't remember the other one. It was just it was Bagpipe. I was just baffled as to why was I getting this cursed luck, and it stuck with me for a while. I kept getting off banner stuff.
Would that be the worst streak that you've ever had?
Easily the worst streak ever.
Okay.
Thankfully, that luck turned around for the Neural Altar banner.
I think it usually happens. Often when people have bad luck on a limited banner, the thing that I like to tell them is you may have the bad luck now, but eventually it will just go off. Like there is a time of a rainy season, a thunderstorm, and then all of a sudden the sun will shine again. So people shouldn't be too upset if one limited banner goes out, maybe even two, even three, because there are free-to-play players who will tell me things like they don't even play in the game, so they don't get any limited operators throughout their entire life. Some even say no alters the first, but I think people need to keep their hopes up high, and at the same time they need to understand it's a gacha game, and the idea of not getting what you want will happen.
And those rates sometimes don't feel like they're honest. Accounts for 70% of the 6-star pulls. I think because I finished up doing that video with Beyond. Ooh. If you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
And he brought all the luck for me. Kind of. Right. I still got a ton of off. But it was rough. I did really well on the Cal Sculptor banner. Like probably some of my best luck. I think I got Cal up to pot 5 and Sculptor up to pot 4. Because really I was just
trying to mix them out.
Yeah, I didn't try to max them out. I was actually trying to get 300 pulls so I could just get W. Because I missed out on W a long time ago, and I'm like, I'm going to get W with a 300. Sure enough, it took 300. I never pulled her once. I'm still kicking myself for not getting Ash in the Limited Siege event, and the problem with that is most limited events, you might have a chance at a rerun, or they might throw the operators in another banner as like a bonus.
Yep.
But for the Rainbow Six stuff, because I wasn't an active player at the time. I had taken a lot of time off. I don't know if that's ever going to come back because that was a collab with Ubisoft. So
yeah, a lot of people are unsure as well. No one has the answer as to whether it will come back. Not even the CN players will know. We can only see. I mean, it's in the air because there's no definite no, right, from the company. Yeah. If there's a definite no, then we can proudly say, okay, we shouldn't even be hoping for it. But since it's left in the unknown, then everybody stays unknown about it. Yeah.
Based on my inside sources, both Hypergriff and Ubisoft are on good terms at the moment.
Are or aren't?
They are. They are right. On good terms.
They are. So, I think it was one of the Ubisoft hits. They sent the CEO of Hypergriff, Haimao himself. I think, no, Haimao is not the CEO, by the way. He's just one of the hit producers. But they sent him a gift, like a parcel. And it's full of like R6 merchandise. Like it was very recent. It was only 2 months ago when it happened. So we can see that it's good terms, but the problem is, so is there going to be a second season? Are we going to see something else?
I don't know, just because I don't know if it did anything for Rainbow Six.
And at the same time, because it was a one-sided collab, Rainbow Six didn't receive anything. The most that I see Rainbow Six having is that if you go to the Rainbow Six store, so Rainbow Six has their own merchandise store, you can actually find Arknights good in there.
Oh,
really. So if you search Arknights, it's not publicized. That's something that I'm so confused by. But if you search Arknights on the Rainbow Six Siege store, you'll see that they sell Arknights teams hoodies. So it's really, really pretty. Although it's very expensive. I think it's like 80 USD or 90 USD for a hoodie. But then again, I would want to have a hoodie with like a Blitz background, like right behind me. I would wear that. So I was thinking of saving money for it. To own that hoodie. I'll be very happy. Yeah.
Can you send me a link of that at some point?
Okay, I can. Maybe after this call, hopefully remember, and then I'll send it to you. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So in any case, right, might as well we get started to know you a little better as well, apart from just the AK playing. Because I think the biggest curiosity for people who's watching you, who knows you and I, in a sense, is we know you for music. And I think this starts from my own personal question. How do you start making music?
So I started making music in general 2 years ago. it was 2 years on like February. And I had been in a band for a while. I'd been singing for over 10 years, not professionally, just, for fun. Then I finally joined a band. I really liked the music a bunch. I'm a big metalhead, if it wasn't obvious. And
Right.
some of the songs I just felt like, it's not exactly what I want, though, if it was my own type of music. So I just kind of went my own way of like, how would I do it? How would I want it to sound? And from there, I had the drummer, who was a producer and worked at a studio, start teaching me very basics of mixing and everything. And I just did YouTube tutorials on how to use FL Studios, which is the digital audio workstation that I currently use. And from there, I've just been slowly building up my virtual instrument library. The other big thing too is I don't know how to play any instruments at all.
Still.
So it's still, they're all virtual
Ooh.
instruments. So I just plug in the notes and, hear it back and see what sounds good to my ear.
I'm so fascinated by that though. I would have thought that people would eventually pick up a music instrument if they do computer, like programming for music production. But I'm now surprised to hear that you've never got that.
So I own plenty of instruments. I have a keyboard right in front of me. I have my bass guitar, an electric guitar, and an acoustic guitar, as well as a couple of other silly instruments laying around. But every time I try to pick them up, I get frustrated, and I'm like, I would like to get better at this, but I still have to work on stuff constantly. The other big thing, too, is I really put an emphasis on speed, not for the sake of quantity over quality, but I get really bored with my songs if I spend too long on them. So if it's been a week for one single song, which is agonizingly long for me, I start to get tired of it, and I just don't want to hear it anymore, and I want to do a new project. So my method for it has just been quickly rough out the entire melody of the song, the riffs, everything, based on whatever genre it is, and then just focus on mixing and then start tweaking everything a little bit after. But I never plan songs at all either. I just kind of go off of a vibe. Occasionally, I use a lot of sample libraries, so I'll go through sample loops and I'll play them, and I'll just get some inspiration of like, okay, what will work here? Throw that in. A couple of my songs, I'll often use a lot of samples depending on the genre. But I guess I do what some people might call the quick and dirty method of making music.
What would that be?
So that would be, just using a lot of samples to quickly block out the song. So get all the structure in place, and then start layering some instruments on top of it if it's needed. Sometimes I'll just do all samples and then heavy mixing to make it all cohesive and sound good. So that's primarily song arrangement. But with, I think, almost all my metal tracks, I handwrite everything out, but that's because I have a very good workflow for that. So let me see if I can very quickly. So, and don't mind, that's Ashlock's abs.
Continue.
All right, so this was just it took me forever to actually get into doing chords and whatnot, and sorry about the screen. I have two monitors here.
Right.
But I'll turn this down so it's not too loud on your end. But just feeling out a vibe. And that's all done with my virtual guitar here, which takes care of all the heavy lifting. They're kind of pricey, but honestly heavily worth it if you want to get into making this genre, as well as the amps. I love my amp company. For the drums, different company, but also have a virtual drum, virtual bass, virtual like everything, and you get really nice sounding tones.
Ooh.
And over the 2 years that I've been working on this professionally, I've been developing my own presets and my own methods of mixing my stuff. So it's gone from a song taking a few days to taking, a few hours now, just because I have already, I have a lot of presets and everything set up just so I can start, working on whatever. So I've been a big proponent of anyone who wants to get into music can. It's very easy. If you want to get into it into a professional capacity, it's going to cost you A lot of money, but you
That was a
can do a
curious
lot.
question. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
what
you can
is
do
this a
a
lot of
lot for
money?
free. Well, okay, so a lot of money. I think in for my career, I've probably sank about $4,000 or $5,000 in 2 years. Most likely
Ooh.
it could be more if I'm counting, my desk setup, and the computer. Oh man, actually the computer parts alone probably add another $1,000.
Mm,
You don't need the strongest computer, but
right.
the more you want to do, the more it's going to be CPU intensive.
Right.
So I had to upgrade from my i5 to an i9. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then RAM had to get increased from 32 to 128. I
Oh,
don't
that
recommend
is
that for
high.
everyone. Yeah, I like to future proof, so I do not recommend that for everyone. My main drives used to all be HDDs, and then I finally upgraded to an SSD M.2. Figured,
Right.
yeah, I got to get like the nicest thing I can get for the best speed, and yet this thing still, FL Studio still struggles at times. Maybe because I
Wow.
overwork it.
Okay, that's surprising that at that level it still struggles. Um,
FL Studios is kind of bad when it comes to multi-threading, multi-threaded processing.
mm,
So I had to find that out the hard way. But I am exploring other DAWs to work with, like Ableton. But that's in the future.
mm,
So yeah, that's how I make music, though. I just really quickly throw things together and see what sticks, right? And the let's see.
you opening something up?
And like the style of things vary, massively. So if I go more into EDM, um, which while that's loading, I can talk about this. Again, things I'm weak at, I rely on samples and I try to learn them based on the samples that I'm using, which I pay for those samples as well, so I can legally use them.
Yep.
And it all started when I know you didn't ask this question, but I'm sure you would have at some point. So for doing the Arknight stuff and doing my YouTube channel, it all had started when Arknights was initially having a problem where their record company was DMCA claiming content creators.
Oh, it still is happening.
Yeah, it started happening again, which I found like wild. That's crazy. So I even knew to myself, this is going to get resolved. But why don't I just try remaking some of the songs in the game? And some of my first Arknights tracks were remakes of battle themes, main menu theme, and all this other stuff. So I wanted to make that available to all content creators. So it's like, here, you have the option to use it. It sounds close enough. It's legally distinct enough where you're going to be completely fine.
Mm,
And then I made the Swire's Gowl contingency, which was the video that blew up for me. And that's also thanks to Talk Des, who put it out there.
promoted it, right? Mm,
Yeah, promoted it, and that video is like at 111K. It was like, whoa, wow, that's new for me.
mm, mm.
And then I did Lapland's theme after, where I actually conscientiously thought, oh, let me actually try to make a legitimate song for what I feel like would be an operator's theme, since character themes weren't a huge thing at the time 2 years ago.
Yep.
They're doing it a lot more now,
Yeah.
but that did really well, and I had a bunch of fun with it, and I kept doing it.
Mm.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so this is an EDM song. Let's see, hopefully it's not too loud. So these are a lot of samples, right? Mixing in with a couple of things I had written in here, like this 808.
Mhm.
But that's a sample that I'm just working in. And essentially that's like the whole song right there. And it's just a lot of mixing and mastering to make everything feel cohesive.
Right.
So this is how I'm able to do tons of different genres and how I work very quickly.
I find it very fascinating to see the workflow because with some storyline that people don't know for me is that before I started content creation, I wanted to do music production. So like I was never intending to stream or make videos ever in my life. I even thought it wasn't a good thing to do because I'm like, it's so easy. I often say this to my viewers sometimes that when younger, I would think streaming is such a simple job. You turn on the camera, you appear in front of people and all of a sudden everybody just watches you. How difficult can that be? And then, I mean, it's only after I try it, then I realized that I was so wrong about it. There's a lot of worldviews that I changed. And before that, I wanted to try music production because all my life, I grew up playing rhythm games. And then at the same time, I was very interested by EDM music. So I was thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do something like that? I bought a new computer in about 2020. I think it was the month of May. And I bought a good computer. Well, it's not as good as yours, but it was the best one I've ever had because I've never had a PC. So when I bought it, I told myself, when you buy technology, you should buy the best of the best. Like, I totally find it reasonable to splurge because the idea of future-proofing is there. You get the best of the best that you know will last you for years. You don't have to keep upgrading all the time. Although we still get tempted when we have the best of the best and then next year we see something else. But at least it's not so bad. So I bought like a strong CPU, I think it was 16 GB of RAM, and then basically good parts, good GPU as well. So it was when I played computer games and I did whatever I did that I realized, oh, I'm not maxing out the use of my PC. You know, my PC was still like at 30%, 40% of the load of all my computer parts. I know some people watching might be saying, wait, my PC is like 100% in the task manager all the time. That's like the kind of thing that I faced at first. And then I said, okay, I want to learn something new and maybe make better use of this PC. So I wanted to do music production. But holy heck, I couldn't get started. I didn't know what the hell was I doing. I mean, I tried.
I mean, if you're still fascinated in it, I have no problem teaching you the very basics of how to make music, and especially like arranging songs and whatnot. I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's, if you have an ear for music and you really love it, you can absolutely do it. No problem.
I think it's a matter of fiddling with the program. For a lot of people who are interested in music, even people who's watching this video, the biggest struggle will probably come with like, oh wow, there's so much tracks, there's so many little buttons. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to look at? So sometimes even watching tutorials can be a little confusing. Or like even when it comes to watching tutorials, comes that question of which one do you get started with first? You know, what?
Oh,
yeah,
it's flooded.
And I think there was also that whole idea where I would have loved it. There was someone teaching me, like one of my friends a few of my friends who I know who do music production. But I guess as time went by, I didn't really, couldn't really afford the time for this. And then that's when I also started to get into streaming. So then my life started to go into this, where all of a sudden I'm on YouTube and Twitch so often. But that was like the backstory. So when I see someone showing this and that they find that it's very simple, it's very natural to them, it's I wouldn't say it's a bad envy, but of course there's this sort of envy of like, wow, you can do something that I've not been able to, you know. How would you describe like then this music making experience? Because at what age did you start and what age are you now to be where you are?
Okay, so 2 years ago I was 24 when I started this. No, sorry, was I 25? 25. It's 25. I'm 27 now. And, you know, the way I feel about, like, I'm so much happier. Listening to my older tracks, I'm like, oh, wow, I was terrible. But
I think it's the same thing. I look at my older videos, I also say the same thing.
Yeah, that's if anything, that's the sign of growth, and that's something to be happy about. And the most important thing I felt is that I could never compare myself to others, because I feel like it's a very bad mindset. I used to do art well before this, but that was an even bigger struggle for me, and I kind of gave up on art and figured I'd just kind of go into video games, or not video games, business, and I really wanted to make a board game. Still going to do that in my spare time, but that's more in the future for me. But, you know, something, when I first started making music, everything felt like it clicked, like it made sense to me, and it also had hit me, I had spent most of my life being very fascinated by music, and I used to actually play a bunch of instruments as a kid. Taught myself piano for a while, forgot that completely. Played trumpet, steel drums, actually a bunch of brass instruments, and you know, did singing throughout my entire life. And, you know, when I was finally understanding how the DAW worked, because I had fiddled around with FL Studio before, but I'm like, oh, just like you, like, this is confusing. There's so much stuff, all these tutorials there. But taking the time to really learn, like, how do I do a specific thing, right? How do I do one specific thing? Not how do I get started with a whole tutorial? No, I want to know how to do one thing. And I went step by step, and slowly it all came together for me. And then hearing the music back and just being like, well, that's what was in my head. That sounds great, right? Even if it was the old stuff, I can still see what I was feeling at the time and being like, this feels right. And I didn't really have that sense of like accomplishment and like, oh wow, I feel like I should have been doing this my entire life. I had never felt that before. So
it's like you wish that you did this when you were younger or something?
Oh, absolutely. I wish I had gotten into music much earlier in my life, like to the point of where I wanted to be a professional. In fact, for the longest time, I'd been telling myself, even if I ever decided to join a band just for fun, it was only ever going to be a hobby because there's no money to be made in it, and it's unrealistic to try. I was, you know, very like skeptical and pragmatic and trying to be like, well, I need to have a real good profession that I know will work out in my favor. And before I knew it, this turned into a career. So I started taking commissions soon after I started doing the Arknights music from streamers, and that started to grow more and more and more, as did my name. And the way I started, it's a lot of struggling, by the way.
Of course.
I actually don't recommend the career to a bunch of people. It's unless you're okay with suffering for years. I consider myself incredibly lucky with the connections and contacts I've made. While it is luck, it's also a bunch of skill and how much work you decide to put in. So I was working a full-time job at the time at Amazon, and I would get up at like 6 a.m., post a video, go to work for 10 hours, come back home, work on a song for the remainder of the night, hit render on the song right before I went to bed, woke up, prayed that nothing went wrong with the rendering, and then rinse and repeat like every 2 days. And that was just it. And it was nuts. I was really running myself ragged. And then in order to get clients for streaming and stuff, I would hop into people's streams, watch their streams for almost like an hour or two while I was working at the same time, try to interact with their crowd, and tried to just be like, oh, well, if you're ever interested in music, let me know. You know, I didn't want to be that intrusive guy that just been like, oh, I'm here to sell you on something, because I feel like that's not cool. And, you know, over time, that really helped me, and it got to a point of where this was just barely sustainable enough. So I quit my job, and, you know, decided to do this full time. Still didn't have enough to pay rent, but I had a great roommate, still have a great roommate, who covered me for a full year. And, you know, now I'm at the point where I don't actually have to do commissions or anything anymore. The Spotify, YouTube Rev does pretty well for me, but I actually have a job as of a month ago at a video game studio as head of audio. So I've never been so much prouder, but it was because of my connections through working with streamers and other people that I even got that job.
Well, sure. I think it's kind of a long way for whatsoever that happened to bring you to where you are. And I will hold you there because it's all very big stories that we can hear about. Although, did you started eating when we began?
Yeah, I had a few bites.
Are you able to take a picture of what you had?
Yeah, I can. Let me change the.
You take a picture. You can send it to me as well.
For sure. We'll get the.
Well, you get that prepared. So, you live in California, right?
Correct.
I would think that you have Burger King there.
We do.
So that's exactly what I have in front of me. I've got Burger King, but it's not the burgers, the usual one. It's the breakfast menu. So I don't think you have this drink, by the way, in the US, and I think US is missing out. This is Milo. So Milo is a real Asian. It's either an Asian drink or it's an Australian drink. You can call it's the hot chocolate of Asia, and I drink this all the time. It's unhealthy, but I don't mind it. It feels healthier than to drink a carbonated drink, I would say. So that's why I've stuck with this.
You'll notice in my photo it's a carbonated drink. I sent it through my other account.
What's that supposed to be? I'll overlay on the video when I show it. What's this? Is this a pancake?
That's a quesadilla.
Oh! Wait, oh wow, I've never gotten to eat quesadilla all that much, but I would love to. Because I mean, it's generally a very healthy food. It could be healthy. It depends on what you put inside.
Yeah. Right now it's just a blend of cheese. Normally I like to have a little bit of chicken or broccoli, or later tonight probably some shrimp. I have like a trout in the fridge for dinner, but I'm actually trying to be on a pretty good diet right now.
Well, I feel like every time I bring someone on this video, they always say that they have a diet. Everyone's like putting out there.
I don't have a great metabolism or anything, right? So it's like very easy for me to get super chubby and all that stuff. And I have a whole home workout set. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be very serious for my own sake and health reasons. I'm like, okay, I want to be as light as possible, at least have the least amount of fat on me as possible, because health-wise, it's great for me. I used to be not thin, but like definitely slimmer. And I had like next to no health problems. I rarely got sick. It was great. And then blew up a little bit. And now I'm back to getting back down. So I'm kind of in the midway point of hitting that. But yeah, keto diet is next to no carbs, tons of fat, moderate amounts of protein. So that's what I stick to. And yeah, I still drink zero sugar sodas and all that stuff.
Now I feel guilty, because like I'm eating a freaking burger. This is a hamburger.
Oh, no, I don't feel envy towards it. I don't even have like cravings for burgers or anything anymore. And trust me, there are tons of recipes and stuff around that. If I want a burger, I'm just gonna
right? Like, actually, I don't know if there's a thing in the US, but over here, sometimes people innovate their burgers. So, there's literally vegetable burgers. But what I mean by that is that they literally put a slice of lettuce, like as the bun. So the buns are lettuce, and then everything in the middle is just whatever filling that you want. Or they make the oh no, rice wouldn't be healthy actually, because rice is still full of carbs. It's like buns. Yeah, but I think that's the way that you can switch it up to make burgers a little more healthier than it is.
Yeah, we lettuce wrap is a big thing here.
Lettuce wrap is a very Korean thing, I would say. Koreans love to wrap their food. They'll always take their food on the lettuce and then they'll put it in. They call it a sam or something like that. And you eat it. It's very healthy. I don't know.
I love the videos of like Korean street food. It's always mesmerizing to see.
Do you get to travel? Have you ever gotten to travel?
I have. Just not to Asia yet. I've been to the UK twice, France, what is it? Argentina.
Ooh.
I've been to a couple of Spain. But yeah, never gone to Asia just yet. I plan on going to Germany next year for a work meetup, since my team is primarily European, and we just figured, let's all meet up at Germany. At some point I have quite a bit of friends in like Southeast Asia, so I absolutely plan on either going to Indonesia or like Malaysia, or we're gonna all talk together and find like one space that's easy for them to get to, where I don't have to take constant plane flights to get around.
The interesting thing is that wherever you have not been to is like wherever I've been to, and wherever you have been to is where I've not. Because I've largely been traveling within Asia, all the Asian countries, but I've never been to Europe or America, and I really want to. I think it's, I have mentioned this in like the first episode-ish, where I was saying, I would love to see other countries. Streaming and YouTubing and getting to know people from elsewhere gave me that feeling where, oh my goodness, there's like a whole world out there that I've not witnessed yet. So I hope to get there, although that would mean I gotta be a little bit bigger as a person so that I have the funding to even want to be able to take a plane to travel and all.
I completely understand.
So, but it takes time, and I think I'm fine with that level of work. So it's good to see that we're enjoying our food together. And I think if we get back to the sort of things that you've mentioned just now, within these 2 years of your career, what are some of the biggest achievements or projects that you would say you ever had?
Perhaps I think working with Cecile, who was is a streamer, VTuber, she's been phenomenal to work with, and
Is she a Niji
thanks to her-
Samji streamer?
no, she's independent.
Independent. Oh.
Yeah, and very independent. Like, she just does her own art stuff, and she has been like amazing to work with. Her and I are still, good friends, and I'm still making more stuff for her. Honestly, like, it was thanks to one of my piano tracks I did for her that really boosted my career, like, to levels I had never seen before.
It's good for the portfolio.
Say again?
It's good for the portfolio.
It's great for the portfolio.
Exactly.
It's that song alone across all the platforms has like 500,000 streams.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, wow, that's for music. Wow, that's crazy. None of my own videos have hit that mark, but it was great. The first album I did for her, which after that one, after I think like 2 songs, at that point, because it was so nice to work with her. I enjoyed all the music, I enjoyed everything, and I'm like, truth be told, I don't really value capital gain that much. I value growth more than anything. So after that, I was just like, you know what? All of it's free after this point. Everything you want or something, I'll just do it for free, because she was one of my first clients ever, and it's been nothing but very nice, working with her. And the second album on her YouTube channel, because she did the whole album stream and I just did the individual songs, 400,000, like, really fast. I'm like, whoa, that's nuts. And we're doing another one too, but I can't really talk about that one in detail too much.
Sure. But it'll be a little teaser for people.
While this isn't remotely even a big song on my channel, I was actually really proud of, I think after I hit 3,000 or 4,000 or something, I can't remember what the milestone was, I wanted to do like a really Doom style track, but for Blaze, and it was my first Blaze track, and I had invited fans to be like, oh, send me through my work email some audio submissions of a chant, and you can scream into it or whatever, you can do whatever you want. Most people couldn't, that's fine, but I wanted to do like a whole metal choir, and it turned out really well. I was very happy with it, and I was glad that my fans felt really happy with it too, because I just be like, okay, yeah, these are all the people that got in there, and it was very nice. I actually really want to do something like that again, where I have the fans
to be a part of the music, right?
Yeah, to be part of the music, because I really love my fan base. Everyone's just really chill, good vibes. Even in the server, it's just, we just really talk about gacha games, sometimes anime, and we share music, and that's mostly it. I'll get some ideas on operator stuff, but aside from that, yeah, it's pretty chill. Although, fun fact, most people don't know this, even though I have said this a few times. I don't pick an operator first. I make the music first,
and then you see who it fits,
and then I see who it fits, and I will adjust it.
That's not
slightly.
a bad idea. It works.
Because I don't want to lose the artistic inspiration of making the song sound good, whereas if I pick the operator, then I feel like I'm cornered into making a certain type of song, which won't let the song be as good as it needs to be. Besides, you don't know how many times I've had to justify metal for tons of different operators that one might think, maybe they shouldn't have, metal.
I think it works as a creative flow. Like, it perfectly helps you to ensure that you're keeping to your music and you're not really forcing yourself to make something work for you. I think if you get glued, the whole idea where if you have to make a certain requirement happen, it can go off rails. So it's perfectly understandable. Although, how is it like when people ask you for music then? So what happens? Do they request for the type of music from you, or?
So for like commissions?
Yep.
Okay, so for commissions, yeah, they'll request a genre. I'll have them give me like video references or song references, and then from that, I'll try to make it as close to the song as possible. I know that I was good enough at not copying music. I actually really don't like making covers of songs because I feel like I owe it to not the client or anything, but like to the song itself to do it justice and copy it as best as I can. And yeah, it's like, well, you should take your artistic freedoms, of course, but I still need to get the vibe entirely right, and the instrumentation needs to be done correctly. So it's a lot of extra work for me. Whereas if it's original, I can do whatever I want. I can go crazy with it. And I can absolutely, I have no problems achieving the same tone, vibe, and feeling from a reference song, but you know, ask me to copy something, and it's like I can't do that. not well, but that's typically how it goes. And for the most part, I've had little issues. I've had probably over 200 clients in the 2 years.
There's a lot if you spread it out in days.
I've in 2 years, I think I've made maybe 450 songs.
Wow.
In total, I do this every day. Like my work days are 6 to 7 days a week, about a minimum of 10 hours I spend. Obviously I take a ton of breaks in between, like little tiny breaks here and there, but for the most part, while it is intensive work, it is a labor of love, and I can't see myself doing anything else. I actually don't really do commissions that much these days. I still do them, but I had to raise prices and all that stuff and everything. I'm just a lot more busier with other side projects. Plus I don't need it for, you know, financial stability. And I kind of wanted to take more time to focus on some of my personal music. Also, there was a time where I was taking on too much commissions, and I'd get a little bit sloppy, and occasionally I would mess up and miss somebody's commission entirely. So they would go a long time and be like, where's my song? And I'd feel horrible.
Right.
You don't know how bad I feel whenever I feel like I mess up a client's order. I feel just, oh my gosh. I feel racked with guilt. And oftentimes what I'll try to do is I'll overcompensate and give them even more music than they even paid for.
Right.
Now, obviously there's a few people out there that just were just like, I appreciate the sentiment, but personally, I would just, you know, whatever. So it came with complications. I was biting off way more than I could chew, and I realized it wasn't the healthiest workflow. Now that I've slowed things down a lot, I find it to be much more manageable, and you know, better for me, better for whoever does end up commissioning me, especially my contracted my contracted work now. So, you know, I'd say in the 2 years, a lot of things has changed in my life. It took me forever to actually get used to working from home full time. That's something they don't tell you, is that you go stir crazy and it affects your mental health quite a bit when you are at home 24/7.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I get that feeling of being stuck home for 24/7. It drove me crazy. I think COVID lockdown was not my thing. I thought it will be. And I realized, no, it's not healthy for me. By the way, you can stop sharing your screen if there isn't anything going on.
My bad.
But do you get to have long breaks then?
No, not really. So
You haven't taken a long break in a while?
Even if I have no commissions, even if I have no contracted work, I'm always making a new project for myself. I don't feel like I can stop working, and I don't fully know why. I just want to keep working. It's because I'll even take breaks from making music by making different music. That's my go-to. I'll go a month or two without ever playing video games or even watching anime, and you know, then for a little while, maybe I'll take a day or two and binge as much as I want, and then it's like, okay, I gotta get back on it. But no, I don't really take breaks. In fact, I had a break for a little while, and instead of taking time off, I decided to hit up the other music producers in the Arknights community, which there are 4 of us. And I'm like, you guys want to do a collaborative album? And that's how we came out with Noble Contingencies. Now, I thought we had a month a half, based on how the release dates were going. We had 3 weeks. So that was really rough. And then right after I started that, I then got hired to, as a head of audio at my company. And it was wow, that was, I think April was the most rough month I've had in my career ever.
Wow.
Because I had to still do it was the hardest, the toughest month I've had in my career. I still had to do my weekly uploads, since I was uploading about 2 to 3 songs per week. And then on top of that, I had to get songs ready for the album, which I contributed 5. And then I also had to do my tasks and jobs at my company. But because I was new, I had to take the time to learn a bunch of things all at once. So there were so many days where I would only sleep like 3-4 hours, and I was just a wreck. And I'm like, keep going. And I know this isn't healthy for me. I know this isn't good, but it's like I gotta keep going. I loved every moment of it. So I think I am tried and true a workaholic till the very end. I can't see myself resting. I couldn't see myself going on a vacation unless it was to meet up somebody, like, one of my producer buddies or somebody from work or something. I just don't really see myself taking time to stop because I love doing this so much.
I think that's a good thing. I mean, as long as it's also a dream that I think people want to have, that they work for something that they love and they know that as far as they're tired from it, they will just keep going. It's not easy to find a job like that. But for you, I hope that could be the case when it comes to music production. And because we've been talking about how you've journeyed through Arknights, right, as creating so many pieces, I think it's a very broad question. Why Arknights?
So I saw a content creator just pop up in my YouTube home feed, my recommendeds, and I saw that game, and I'm like, what's that art style? It looks really cool. God, I could gush about Arknights' art direction for hours, but I saw the art style. I'm like, okay, let me check it out. So I checked it out. I watched the video. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'm a fan of tower defense games. It's just that I got burned out on them many years ago because they were all kind of lazy and done poorly. And I saw this one. I'm like, oh, this feels kind of unique. All right, I really like it. I wasn't well versed in Gacha. In fact, I had apparently previously played Gacha. I just didn't know what Gacha was at the time.
Right.
I used to play Chain Chronicles. Old game. And much more of a worse game, but it was definitely fun. And I'm not much for reading the story. Arknights' story, I think most fans agree the first 3 or 4 chapters are rough.
Right. Yeah.
But the aesthetic kept drawing me in. The world, the lore, everything felt right. I heard some of the music to it too, and I'm like, wow, this feels really up my alley. And sure enough, actually, my style of making music, because I do have a defined style, even if it's any other genre,
right,
feels like it's on par with this. So I was just kind of hooked immediately with Arknights. I've tried other gachas before, and they're hard to get in, or they just don't really sell me nearly as hard.
Like, if with however long that you've done Arknights, right? Surprise the people who's watching a bit. How many pieces related to Arknights do you think you've done?
How many pieces?
I don't even think you might know the exact number. But would you have a guess?
Wait, what do you mean by how many pieces?
So, how many fan-made songs may you have made for Arknights?
Oh, I have the exact number.
Oh.
Yeah, it's because it's a YouTube playlist. 111.
That's a lot. 111 can fill up the whole year of worth of work. Just right there.
I have I'm actually getting pretty close to the amount of music that Monster Siren Records, right, has released for the game. I'm getting very close to how much they have released for the game in total, in terms of my own personal work.
Like, considering this, right? Because of your love for music, so how will you then describe the music in Arknights?
I actually greatly appreciate that they vary up the genres and styles. They don't just go with one genre of music, leave it at that. They go kind of all over. The battle themes are like really high-paced EDM or metal. I was shocked. It's like, wow, they're committing to metal.
They are
in this, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, I heard the OST, and I'm like, this is awesome. Even their orchestral work was beyond nice. It was almost ethereal, like the Frost Nova song.
Yeah.
And I couldn't just help but admire it, like, massively. And the new stuff they keep putting out gets only better and better.
I feel like the music scene for AK is tremendously improving from the start.
It's tremendously improving. Oh yeah, and in my personal opinion, I feel that AK probably has the best music for any gacha game. Hell, almost any mobile game, in my opinion. And I've heard quite a few other OSTs from many other games.
I think some people might even then quote some of the biggest game titles. Would you say even might far surpass that?
So let's see, if we quote the bigger game title, like Genshin, right?
Right.
I do really like Genshin's like the orchestra that they hired for it. I think it's amazing. But I feel like with Genshin and the style of how they do things, it feels like they're kind of locked to doing a certain style. Like they've locked themselves off from doing many other styles of music, which is fine. Again, setting the genre and everything. I still think Arknights just has kind of more legs to it, if you will. It's it has more avenues and directions to go in, right? Also love the fact that they're partnering with a bunch of musicians out in the world to just make custom tracks for them, and I find that incredibly refreshing. Not just we're going to keep it all internal. It's no, we're going to find specific artists like Radcat, Steve Aoki, DJ. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm blank. Yeah, Okawari. You're having all these artists just jump in, and it's like, that's amazing. That's so refreshing to hear that any video game studio would even do that. So yeah, I do think for the most part that I think it kind of rivals, if not, in my opinion, is better than most other huge titles out there for gacha games.
For me, as I mentioned just now, I grew up with rhythm games. So that's why I got to like music a lot. So much of the music that I listen to is from Japan and Korea. So in recent times, I'm super surprised because certain of the songs that they make, for instance, I believe it was CC Spectrum, the main team for it. I think it was the battle team. And then afterwards, the one of the upcoming events is the one with Golden Glow. So it's a Light Spark and Darkness. Both team songs were made by one of my favorite Japanese artists. His name is Cyber Miso. So I was surprised that they are able to collab with him. And even CC8, Dawn Seeker, the theme song was made by, the battle song, I think, was made by Ajurika. So it's another Japanese creator.
I thought it was Terry Zong?
There were two theme songs. So there was a lobby theme song and there was a battle theme song. So the battle theme song was made by a Japanese creator. I think the lobby theme song was made by who you have mentioned. Yeah. And both are great songs. Like, it's surprising to see that they are expanding it. I also see as it looks like as if they have more budget to be able to expand.
They do. Actually, one of the composers or producers for W's theme, Boiling Blood,
right,
and one of, I think was it CC0? It was Burn Me to the Ground was the song. Jason Walsh. I actually had the pleasure of talking to him about his work on Arknights. He's so nice. He's great. He helped me out. He gave me some advice and feedback on sound design stuff, and all super valuable. Dude was great. I again, the fact that Hypergriff is working with artists all over the world was just surprising to me. I thought, oh, maybe they're just gonna stick with Japan and China, maybe Korea, like South Korea, for artists. No, they went worldwide. They got everyone that they could who was open to it. For the longest time, I had the goal of like, I really want to work or do a project for Hypergriff.
To be featured with them. This was a question I was gonna get to.
I super want to do that. It's still a bit of a dream. After looking more into how Hypergriff works though, and the specifics of certain things, it's just a dream. It's not going to be something I'm actively working towards. Where I'm obviously at some point, I could do it now. I do plan on emailing my portfolio, all my works, and everything. But I know Hypergriff is a bit on the very protective side about the Arknights IP.
Yeah.
So they're very cautious about who they choose to work with, which is more than fine and acceptable.
That's the thing I was always curious about. Like, all these creators that they got into the game, did they find them themselves, or did these people find Hypergriff? Like, it's a very odd thing. Because, I believe some people would have contacted Hypergriff directly and then maybe got a chance to work. But I feel like more of it could be them seeking out for these people. But even if they sought out for these people, how did they know if whoever they were choosing were going to be good, And how did they manage to get in contact with them? In a sense.
Well, actually, contacting famous people, it doesn't even matter how famous they are. Just contacting anyone is much easier than people think, right? You think of your favorite voice actor, favorite whoever, right?
Right.
All it takes is to send a simple email to whatever their contact info is for them. Maybe they have an agent, maybe they have whoever. Contact them, let them know what you want. Be concise, be polite, and you'd actually be very surprised how many people will actually get back to you.
Right.
So, I've done that before. For high school, I made a little convention because I was president of the anime club.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to raise funds for the club so we can do more fun stuff like that. And I had contacted a bunch of voice actors such as Yuri Lowenthal, Steve Bloom, Aaron Fitzgerald. They even got Kyle Hebert. And I honestly thought, well, they're not going to reply back to me. So I sent an email. Yeah, got back to me immediately. And they're like, sure, yeah, doing it for the school sounds great. And that's just kind of been my experience throughout most of life. It's just like, you don't know until you try.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, so
it's a good quote to go by.
Just send an email out, a professional one. Be very polite, and you'd be very shocked who gets back to you.
So this is like, as much as you say that you have a goal to be able to someday be able with Hypergriff, I'll get to that in a bit, because there's a little crazy idea that I have. It's not like for creators to get there, but I think something Hypergriff could do. But even for this little program that I'm making, where I get to interview people, or not even interview, actually. I don't like to think of this as an interview. I like to think of this as me just chatting with you guys, and us really getting to know each other so much more. I would wish that this whole thing can become much larger than it is. So apart from just going from creators, whether it's YouTubers, streamers, to get someone on board like yourself who's a music producer, it's something that's very different from the usual. And in the future, if I'm able to then move on and then also get some cosplayers in, get some of the artists in, whether it's a fan-made artist or it's a actual artist of the game. And who knows if there is a point in time where I can say to have a game staff on board. I think these are things that will not just excite whoever that I'm with, but at the same time, even for the viewers, they want to see much more interaction of Arknights relevant people to see that the community is just also strong. Although it's not an easy thing to do, but I do wish to take it as far as that as well, to really
you can take it incredibly far. I think you can take it very far. Absolutely.
For sure. So it's going to take time, but I think it's a very over time thing to see how this will progress. And that's why I'm also very thankful that you took the time today to be able to join us. Now, when you were mentioning also as well, when it comes to the ability to work with Hypergriff, like not just for yourself, but for any creator, I think if Hypergriff really wanted that sort of ability, because if you see some of the recent events, for instance, near like, if you notice within the info pod, right, you will have the ability to select the BGMs. It's like a little music player, if you didn't know that. So you can choose like between 4 songs. Apparently they're doing that a lot in the upcoming events. So Integrated Strategies also has a music player in the event menu. Like you go in and I think you can select. The requisite is that you have to find the song. Like you have to play a stage with the song, and then it will be unlocked in like an archive. I think there's like 6 songs that is saved in there, and then the next limited event, which is Invitation to Wine and Stultifera Nevis, they also have the same thing. They have like a music player, so it's like a collection. You see, so one of the things that I wish maybe Hypergriff could do is they hold summer events. Although summer events have always been one of the most contested thing. I think you may be aware that the Chen Altar situation or the Dorcelus holiday, it definitely had some issues back then. But if we look at that one alone, it's a very festive occasion. It's a time of celebration. It's a time of music. And if they really wanted to make a whole music festival of the game, I would love if they can incorporate even more creators in one event. You know, to even combine the songs of maybe even tens of people, where people can just listen to it and just feel the festivities instead of just listening to the same 3 songs. The game expanded quite a bit. Dorcelus Holiday previously had, not Dorcelus, Obsidian previously had like 3 theme songs, and then Dorcelus we start to hear a bit more because of the number of stages that you have. So I do wish that Hypergriff expands on that opportunity to even invite more people, and someday to even have you that's within the game. Right?
That would be really great. I think the one lucky thing I have too with, being part of the Arknights community is that I've noticed that Arknights does put a huge emphasis on music.
They do.
Unlike many other gacha games. And it's such a big part of the game's identity. So I kind of lucked out when I decided to do music production for it, because it was something that was more conscious on fans' minds. So that allowed me to kind of thrive a little bit more than I would say if I was doing Genshin music, or any other type of music, right? But yeah, no, absolutely. It's actually, you're making me realize I should just submit a portfolio to them, tonight or something, or tomorrow.
You can give it a try. Let me know. I'll celebrate the good news with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it will be especially exciting to see that, and I just hope to see so much more creativity coming from Hypergriff. Even if they don't have the acceptance of you right now, but one of the things that we can see of it is, to work to. I mean, there's no need to actively seek to be there, but just to improve like your own craft to eventually have that chance to appear.
Oh, for sure. I think it's more than possible, because I'm only really I primarily make music that I want to hear.
Yep.
There's obviously stuff fans want to hear, because especially when I do my metal and whatnot, I like to do very heavy vocals, and that's more so for me. I know my fans aren't a huge, they're not really into it as much if it's the songs like all heavy vocals, but I know for a fact it's like, well, I'm doing this though for myself, and this is also how I improve. I guess kind of a little bit of a word of advice to anyone out there who's doing not just music but any form of content, art, or what have you. Don't compare yourself to others, and when you're making something, don't make it for other people, make it for yourself. That's the most important thing.
It's good stuff.
That's how you make your best work, because you're trying to outdo what you want to hear, right? You're
that sort of advice is really good for people in the creative industry, especially.
Oh, absolutely.
That they should just work on what they want, especially if they're artists as well. They should always stick to their style as far as possible. They don't have to pander to their customers all too much. Although as far as we try to reach their requests, but the customer shouldn't be too demanding on something that abruptly changes the workflow of the creator. So
precisely.
Yeah.
That's ideal. Go
on. This is a bit of a fun question before we hit some of the closing ones, which is, I think this one might get people asking. So if I don't ask this, it might feel wrong. What's your favorite music in Arknights?
My favorite one? You already said it, actually. It's the Dawnseeker OST, the lobby music.
Ooh, so it's the one with the singer, right?
Yeah, with the Terry song.
I'm actually very surprised because it seems like a lot of people like the Dawnseeker team. I was just shocked because I thought people might be more into the boppy songs, like all those party styles, whether it's Dorsless or Obsidian. And I thought maybe some of the CC teams will be, the previous CC teams that is, will be people's favorite. But I did realize that maybe that sort of, because Dawnseeker is a bit unique, right? In the sense that the singing is not, it's not happy, neither is it emotional. It's almost as if you're getting I don't really know the word to describe it. How would you describe it?
Well, it's synthwave, so it's got a bit of a retro feel to it.
Okay.
Terry Zong also does EDM, so that's where you have in the later half on the second chorus, it becomes a lot more electronic, which I noticed a lot of the fans love electronic music. It's kind of it fits really well with Arknights, and this is why Arknights is very versatile, and you can kind of go anywhere with their music in the style of the world. But it's it's kind of more of a mellow-ish song, but the notes the guy is hitting is perfect. He varies it up just enough, and I guess you could say the term we use in the music industry is ear candy, or like an earworm, right? It sticks in your head. Yeah, so it's just he definitely found the right melodies to make it just stick in your head perfectly. And it's even the second chorus around, it's not the same exact thing, it's varied. Right. So I listen to that song on repeat often.
I do have it as well. I'm also playing it constantly. Good song. Good song, but I did not think of it like, oh, my favorite song is not there. So if I were to mention my favorite song, I posted it on my Twitter. Mine is the song that you hear when you fight the boss in Invitation to Wine. Because I love it's a very epic battle vibe. And the instruments that they use, it's Chinese instruments, but yet there's also elements of very unusual sounds that you don't hear in music, but it works so well together. Like I like the chaoticness. I mentioned that to you once in private chat. Like sometimes when the music gets really chaotic, and for whatever reason, when the chaos makes sense, it's something that I enjoy. I don't get why, but yeah, that's a thing. Although Dawnseeker, I definitely put that up there, like as one of my highest as well. Now, considering that you've been doing music production for long, is there a goal that you set, like a career goal?
Career goal is I really want. So I kind of achieved one of my biggest goals, which is I wanted music to be financially sustainable for me. If things actually didn't work out recently for me, I was planning on going back to a day job. I was still going to do music, but I'd be doing it at a lesser capacity. I got really lucky when I got hired, and now I can. It's financially sustainable. I can pay rent. I can pay my bills.
That's good salary as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty good salary. But now the next goal is to kind of take that even higher. I want to get to a point of where it's not just financially sustainable, but I have tons of breathing room, and I want to start taking on new projects, new bigger projects. My ultimate goal in the end, aside from having like less contracted work, because I even though I say I keep myself incredibly busy with projects all the time, I'm obviously limited by how much I owe to my contract work. Right. So I would like to take less contract work and have a lot more of my passive income via YouTube and primarily Spotify.
Basically an independence.
yeah, I want full independence where it's not necessary that I have to work with a company or anything. I mean, I still want to, but I want that independence to be like super, super like financially secure. And then I would like to save up and put that money into my own studio where I'd like to help out up and coming artists so that they have space to, rent out on the very, very cheap so that they can just make music and do stuff they love, and I can always be around there to help them out and everything out. I was thinking about getting a warehouse, a small warehouse out here in Los Angeles, but that's a goal that's a couple years off, but certainly a goal that I will hit. I have confidence in that.
It's so interesting that you say that one of your later goals is to help out even up and coming artists in the future, to help them to even go further, because I have that little goal as well, where I stated to myself that I would love to help even creators as someone who's a video producer and streaming as well. Like I've done this for, interestingly, we might have done it at the same time. If you've been doing music production for 2 years, I've also been streaming for 2 years. So
okay.
Yeah, and I would love to be able to be helping all these people who also want to become streamers themselves, also wanting to become video producers, that they can see it's tough. That's something they must understand, but it's also something that's very doable. If they're truly interested in that, they need to know what to do to get to where they are. So, but I don't see myself there yet, because whatever size that I am is not big, for sure. It sounds big when you look at it in the game perspective, like the fact that maybe if you compare to other creators, but if you look at the grand spectrum of things, the whole of YouTube, it's not huge just yet. And I do hope to become larger as well. I think I'm the same thing as you. I seek for growth more than I seek for monetary gains. I like to see that whatever that I do, more people are interested in it, more people are liking it. That makes me feel achieved. So there's that. And for yourself, right, as a AK player, what do you wish for AK to become?
I'm really looking forward to the roguelike that they have coming up.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually been a wish of mine forever.
That might stop your workflow,
It might, the whole concept of, I want to just play the game for fun, right?
Right.
I'm a big fan of roguelikes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't want to rely on the stamina system. At some point, I think it would be nicer if it would be like, because we're gonna hit a point where we'll get to closer to the end of the game's life cycle, and they'll do either a second one or whatever they're gonna choose to do with the IP. I know they're never gonna give up the IP because it's very successful. Obviously, we're seeing Enfield come out, which I'm very excited for. But I think a little bit more, just slightly more player accessibility would be great. And an emphasis, a bigger emphasis on content creators, because from specifically Hypergriff, because the HH program that we're in was created actually by Yostar.
It is.
And sponsored by them. And Hypergriff has next to no hand in that. So I won't lie, at times it does feel like Hypergriff, I'm not going to say they don't care, it's just not on their priority list of things to think about. So it would be nice if we could get a bit more of an emphasis for the community and content creation and stuff like that, because we keep the community going, we keep people interested in the game. Obviously, word of mouth is very powerful. I'm sure you've gotten quite a few people into the game or back into the game. I know I've talked to a few friends who were just like, I can't do Arknights anymore, and I'll tell them, like, you check out this recent update. They added quality of life stuff. It's great now. Rates are still, I've never actually had an issue with the rates. Well, I say that after my streak of bad luck, but I feel like the game is more accessible than it was when we first started playing. And I would just like to see that upward growth of basically, if I ever hop into Arknights, I can do a number of things and not have to worry about a stamina system, not have to worry about whatever. I'm so happy about the dailies. I don't even have to run any stage to do all my dailies now, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah, you can. There's a way to do that.
No, it's just do all your base stuff. Upgrade one operator like once. Buy stuff from the store.
You can barely sense sanity. Maybe just even enter one stage and suddenly it works.
I don't even need to do that, and I still get my dailies in like 5 minutes.
So sometimes when you farm in the game, you might not even spend your sanity for the day.
Yeah. Oh god, I'm over sanitied all the time. I think that's triggered some of my fans where they'll be like, "Why do you have 900?" It's like, well, because I get the monthly card. It's about to run out, and I just, I don't really run that many stages all the time. So yeah, I'll use it all up by the time I get to the next week. At some point, and then I'm back at 900 again. You're missing out on all that sanity regen, though. I'm like, it doesn't bother me that much. I am a whale.
And it's good that you say it doesn't bother you that much. I think that's also a thing that I'm trying to change in the community as well, to let people understand that you can get sensitive about the sanity thing, but after you play the game for so long, you start to realize it's not that bad. I mean, you can just spend it any time that you want. And I mean, there's also the idea if you spend, you'll have it easier. But for free-to-plays, even they don't actually have to be too concerned. Once you hit a certain point in the game where your account is really built, maybe you're above level 100, you start to realize the game starts to slow down. It starts to get very smooth sailing with whatever that you have to do. So I think that's the enjoyment for AK. The fact that it's a very kind of like a low maintenance game actually. That at the start you put a lot of work. At the end you suddenly see, it's not that bad.
Oh, you can relax a lot more. You get to a point of where you see an upcoming banner, and you pre-plan. So the second you get the operator, it's just like I can E2 them instantly.
Yep.
No problem. And that's such a nice feeling based on where I started, where I'm like, oh man, I don't know, should I get this operator up to E030? and then looking back, and you're like, oh yeah, but I can get him to E160 no problem. And I'm only an 82 in the game, level 82, so I don't go super hard into the game in terms of trying to min-max and get everyone up all the time. I have, I think, 2 6-stars that are sitting at like E0.
I think this is like a interesting add-on question. Like, if you were to describe you as a player in the game, how do you play the game?
I am a set and forget type of guy. So
what does that mean?
Set and forget. So my units, my team strategy is typically, I put the unit down, I don't intend on moving them. I plan to keep them alive the entire time as they do their job. I definitely like the turtle defensive formation. And then on the lower stages, bully the spawns. But I also I'm definitely chase after meta. Hence why I had to get Surtur. When Blaze first came out, I got her immediately. Aefiella instantly. I went after W's not even meta. I just really liked her.
It's fine.
Saga's
a lot of people don't say.
Same with like Mudrock and all that stuff. And then Shen Alter was non-negotiable when I saw the damage output, and I'm like, oh, I need that on my roster.
Understandable. In that case, do you finish events, or do you not mind if you don't?
Some events I don't mind. Like the smaller events. Limited events I really want to finish. I recently just finished I guess I didn't fully finish
Near Light, is it?
Near Light. So I will always do the main story and the EX to completion. But I still have the annihilations to do, and then I have the desk, the agenda proposals to finish up, which they're almost fully done. It's just taking forever, and I'm going to struggle with the challenge stages on 7 and 8 for the EX.
They are a lot more challenging. So I stream, right? I've been doing handholds, which basically means you help a player to clear it. It's a nightmare. I've been hand-holding the same NL EX8 over and over again because there's a whole lot of people telling me it's the worst stage they've ever seen in terms of difficulty. So, yeah.
Whoever made that was sadistic. I don't know what they were thinking with the Blood Knight, and all the Candle Knights are also equally terrible. I hate them.
I feel like the reason why they made it could be like they've heard so many people saying, oh, your stage is not hard enough. What's going on? I'm a late game player. Where's the difficulty? And they're like, okay, fine, I'll slap you this. And then they gave this
the
goddamn
regen was
character.
I had to stack Blaze, Mudrock, Monster, and Surtur, and Shen blasting him to keep him down. Yeah,
right.
it took all this effort to keep him dead. And
right,
it's just, oh my god. I was in my own server streaming it, and it was agonizing.
Are you comfortable with the fact, like, would you describe the game is difficult? And for whatever difficulty it is, are you comfortable with it?
Yes, I am. I think there are very few stages where I'm like, that's complete and utter BS. Like, why would you build it this way? But to me, that's not a fault of the game. I feel like it's a fault of me as a player. Because I'm not thinking outside of the box enough. Because I'll see a couple of other I'll see you or Kyosin or a couple other people do stages in ways I never thought about.
Right.
You know, and I think the difficulty is perfectly fine for late game players. For early game players, it's a brutal struggle. It takes a lot of time and effort out of you to really try to, because anyone who let's say they got into the game 6 months ago, I don't think they could, unless they've been doing their dailies consistently and min-maxing as best as possible, I don't think they're gonna finish EX8. That's only because of where they are. Yeah, this EX8. I don't think they're gonna finish EX8 unless they really worked hard, almost like this is a job. Because that stage is brutally difficult.
I've tried it.
Go on.
2 months old can do it, but they gotta have certain. Yeah, 2 months old can. Yeah, 1 month old is a brutal.
Yeah, I'm more of a passive player, so I don't even like. I'm not big on
the whole changing of operators thing, right? You don't like to shift things around.
Oh, yeah, that's. And I realize if you're trying to get the really hard stages, you have to do that. You have to swap out and just, constantly. I've seen some crazy Phantom plays, and I'm like, wow, I don't have Phantom, but wow.
No, but I think that's the part that makes AK a bit more of that unique tower defense that you mentioned at the start of the call. Because you don't do this in other tower defense games. You don't do shifting around of people to make things work. So this is what makes AK in a sense. Yeah.
I'd also like to see them do more unique stuff with operator classes. I'm happy they're doing altars now. That's great. But I would love to see. Huh?
You like altars?
Yeah, I like the altars. I mean, I'll be real. I'm probably not going to use Neural. I don't think she's going to have a place in my roster. I got her, but I don't think I'm going to use her. Sculptor is great as a support. Fantastic. Always pair her with Mudrock, but I've yet to look into Spectre Altar. But I'll see.
Very good reviews. Although
very good
there's a caveat, like good reviews, but some people say there's something about her that's difficult. Okay. Yeah, because the girl has high damage, but in the expense of high damage, she loses her health very fast. It's like Surtur.
Okay. I mean, I like it's like Surtur, and I do actually play Surtur where I just drop her, use her like a nuke, and then just immediately get
everything out of the way.
Get everything out, and then immediately move over to something else. But what I would love to see in the game in terms of mechanics would be maybe modal switching. I would love the idea of builds, right? And I know we're kind of
builds. What does that mean?
A little bit on that with what is it? The modules that we're getting. But I would actually like to see kind of like what they're doing with the roguelike, where you can have builds. I would love to see builds, but not you have to use consumables for one time, every time you use your mission. I hate that type of build, but other video games do it, where it's just like, you want to boost your damage or something to get a very specific damage output, you have to use a consumable or whatnot. That feels very annoying and kind of cash grabby, and also a waste of players' time. But if we had something where it's like, you know, almost like Genshin or something like that, where I can equip certain items, you know, maybe if it's 1 or 2, or something modal where I can switch something about their kit and change a small aspect, that would be phenomenal, because then you're taking the game's dimensions even higher and you can do even more crazy stuff.
So, I think what you've mentioned is what they're doing. So, the module that we have right now, when you input it on someone, I think people didn't notice this. I never saw it before and I haven't made a video about it, but there's a word under the module name, like there's an icon, right? And underneath it says stage 1. Apparently, I think no one was fazed by it, like what the stage 1 mean. So in the recent CN update, they actually explained it, what's the meaning behind the stage 1, and you can upgrade the modules from in the future. So the module can go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. And each stage will have an even bigger buff than before. So whatever buff you got in stage 1, it carries over. And they've also stated that there will be now operators who will have 2 modules. So the 2 modules will also upgrade the operator differently. So it's like a pathing system. You could equip this module, but you can't equip the other one. So you can only have one of the 2. And they might even have modules that have 3, or there might be characters with 3 or 4 modules in the future, for all we know.
Yeah, that sounds great then, and if that's the case, because I would like to be able to change the kit of you know, my operators slightly
To give it a bit of a personal feel.
Yeah, so maybe Surtur could stay out longer, but she, you know, you're sacrificing a little bit of damage, but her ability lasts a lot longer, right?
Oh, yeah. People are guessing that that is what will happen when Surtur has a module.
So you know, I'm definitely excited for that. Then, I every time I think of like, some quality of life stuff, they do end up doing it. The biggest killer though is that it takes forever for us to get it.
Yeah.
They will take an eternity for stuff we've been begging for since year 1. You know, that collect all for the dailies and the weeklies, that took too long, in my opinion. The base stuff, that took too long. It should, I mean, you should have the option for like lazier players like myself. I don't min-max my base in terms of what operators go where, but I would kind of like an auto set, just like automatically put people
instead of making it so tiring, right? I get your point. It would be great. Like they could automate the game a lot more, and then I think it will make some players even more comfortable by the fact that they don't have to be so spend so much time, because this could be a drawback for people to even want to play or stay in the game. Yeah. Those are good stuff, although I hope Hypergriff is taking notes. For all we know, they're watching this. So there's that.
Hey, hire me. I'll do it for free, actually. I'll do the music for free. I got 111 of them, and there's more coming out.
Right.
About to remaster the Blaze theme, too.
There's I think this is a good sort of closing place for what it is. We're now 30 minutes in. Is there something that you wanted to mention to me that you didn't get to speak within this little video that we've done?
I guess 2 things.
Okay.
One is a shout out to a few people, and another one is first I wanted to ask, what is your favorite unit and your favorite waifu husbando?
I get asked this a lot, so I get asked this like a lot in my streams, where people ask me what's my favorite stuff, because I don't like to say that I have a favorite operator. There's a lot that I love. There's a lot that I find that's very pretty. Some of them that will be... I kind of realize there's a certain art style that I might be sinking into, because I do like Epstein a lot. I do like Asbestos a lot. And then I also like Flint a lot. So when I put the 3 characters together, I'm like, aren't they very similar in the way they look? They feel similar-ish. And I'm starting to think, is it because they're very tomboyish? I feel like that could be the thing that goes along that. When it comes to the male characters, there will be people like Torns that I definitely like a lot. Actually, even the upcoming Lumen is very pretty as well. Jay is someone that I enjoy a lot, because Jay feels like an embodiment of everyone. The fact that he's always so tired.
Jay is So nice. Oh man, you're listing like the best characters because, oh, I love Jay. Jay is, I don't love him as a unit, but as like a character, he's so awesome.
Exactly. Man lives his life. You know, he's like, I've got nothing. I just want to live my life for what it is. That's a vibe I wish to have.
Yeah, that's a hard vibe. For me, in terms of unit, it would be Thorns easily. Number one as like main unit. I can rely on him on almost any stage. Waifu or husbando, probably. I got a soft spot for Cal, but it's something about that ex-wife look.
Okay.
You know, that's really just interesting. But probably
gets
like
Surtur,
Alter Skin, or Shen Alter. And if Lin Yuxia was a unit in the game,
she'll be one of your favorite as well.
Oh, easily.
Right. I can imagine. There's so many good characters in this game. That's what I would answer. Like, I think that's the joy of playing AK. You can always eye candy anyone. There's just so many good things to look at.
The other great thing of AK is I feel like all the art is tasteful. No one is unnecessarily looted for no reason.
That's the good thing.
I really like that. It's much more refreshing than like a couple of other, games out there where it's just like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird, but sure,
Yep.
Like it doesn't make sense, but okay, everything feels like it makes sense in the game.
Yeah.
All right, so that was like my first thing, and then the last thing for me is I would really like to shout out some really talented friends of mine who have been helping me a ton. So Hermits is a great chiptune artist. You guys should go check out his channel. Makes chiptune versions of songs in game, and they're amazing. Puts a lot of work into them, and I admire him a lot. Lappy is an up-and-coming producer, and Lappy's been making they only have 4 songs on their channel, but they've been making amazing music. The quality is outstanding. And then finally, it would be my best friend Vei Song. Vei Song. All 3 of these guys have been were in my the featured album Noble Contingencies. Vei Song has been a great friend of mine since last year, and he's been helping me out a lot with making my music even better, taking it to another level. He's been, harsh on being like, always telling me like, your drums suck, do it this way or try something new. And he's really helped me grow a lot, and he puts so much work and effort into his music, and I would love to see him grow more as a content creator. Yeah, he puts out songs a lot less frequently. That's because he takes so much time and careful attention to detail to all of his work, and I feel like his work is like underrated far more than mine. And my work gets called underrated, but no, that guy has truly underrated work, and it's criminal that he's like struggling to get to 500, and I'm like, oh, come on, but yeah, I just really want to see those friends of mine grow and improve more, and also just get more of a following, because they also make amazing music.
Hopefully this video gives them attention.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't want to monopolize all of the fan music in the community.
Yep.
Because I want to see more, up and coming new people, and I want to see what their take is on it, because I have a lot to learn from them, and vice versa. And it's great seeing creative people in the industry.
For sure. I love creative work. I think that's the part of me that I grew up with. I've always been surrounded by creative friends, whether it's people who make music, make art, love to do games and all this kind of thing. And I think creative work is just criminally not appreciated in the world. A lot of people think that art is useless, art is not the main thing. Because if art is really useless, then what for are people watching Netflix? What for are people watching YouTube? What for are people going to museums? So I think there needs to be so much more emphasis, not just within my country. I think in my country, art is a bit of a challenge, and I think even globally as well. Eventually this will take time. It's a lot better than the past, but it's still on track for improvements. So that will be something that we wish. And then at the same time, as the closure of the video as well, is there something that you wish to say to the people who is watching, who are watching?
You know what? I hope you guys. I don't know what to say really. It's just like I hope you guys are enjoying the game. I hope you guys are enjoying the community. You know, do take note of whatever content creators and stuff around you, because those guys put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their work, and you know, it's always nice seeing a comment, even though I know some people have the stigma of like, oh, but they're not going to see this comment. No, we see them all.
Oh,
You
I
can't
do.
react to
I
them.
do. Yeah.
It's like, but it really does help a lot to see all the support, and honestly, massive thanks to everyone, not just my fan base, but Cookie's fan base and everyone else's fan base, because I feel like everyone's been utterly amazing, and I hope you guys can see more great stuff from not just me, but from Cookie and all my other friends, because I don't plan on stopping. I plan on continuing to do music as long as I can, forever.
I think it's with it's with the fact that everyone is still playing the game. As far as AK Global, it's a much smaller space than the CN community, but we're still growing, and we can't say to stop there. It's only the fact that there is a customer base that this game can still be here, you know, for everyone to still stay in, and hopefully we can see that growth become so much larger to the point where Hypergriff can even say, let's put some emphasis on the global community. That's something that we wish to happen.
No,
Yeah.
I've been wishing that forever.
Forever. Yeah, it's 2.5 years in already, and yet we're waiting for progress. So there's that. But otherwise, if not, I will stop the recording here. We thank Isaak Wolf once again for joining us, and at the same time, please go and follow him on his channel. I think, Isaak, is it possible for me to put your music in this video as we are speaking?
Of course. I was actually going to recommend it.
That's just that. So I think this is the first little podcast that you all will hear his BGMs all playing throughout. Because I didn't do that for the previous ones. I actually just left it blank. So people will be hearing it throughout, and then they'll be able to expose. And then if you want to hear more stuff, you can head to this channel for that. So that would be perfect to at least get people to know you better.
Yeah, and feel free to, you know, for anyone to really just like use my music for whatever they want.
Right. Okay, I will stop the recording right over here.